How to make polymer clay earrings. Here we have a preview of the earrings I will be making. Down in the description are all the products necessary to create the earrings. So let's start. So we have semi-conditioned clay, and I'm molding it a little bit to make it a little bit softer. I had already previous conditioned it, so it's not coming right out of the box. So I'm cleaning out my roller, which was the one I used before this. So I'm rolling the acrylic roller over, and this is just to create more of a softness on the surface. So this softness is to make that condition for the existing earring at the end. So I have to roll it various times just to make that it creates that specific softness and molding structure that I need. So I also roll it through a pasta roller. This pasta roller has kind of a texture to it, so I also do a small roll right after just to get those little dents out of the clay. Here I'm getting white paper. White paper is necessary because it will help when you do the cutting, so the clay doesn't stick to any surface. It just sticks directly to the paper without it really being unmanageable. As you can see, the pieces that I cut out were taken right off the surface with no hesitation. So I had the cuts of flowers, and now I'm going to do a different style on the flowers I already did. So this is getting the best and most potential out of your cutters. So what I'm doing is like a 3 clover style, and I do this with all of the flower stenciled initially. So I'm cutting them through and also giving them texture. And this texture are lines. So you can do many textures, and this particular one is my style earring. I love my Emmas. I have the Emmas, like I indicated initially, in black, white, what we're doing today, and pink. So I do the same style at all 3. Now we cook. It's very important for 30 minutes at 250, depending your clay, and to let it cool. And now we have cotton balls. And if you noticed initially, when I would pass my clay through the roller, it had some like black speckles. That's what we're going to clean out now after it's cooked, because those were surfaced imperfections. So those surface imperfections can be cleared out with acetone and alcohol. Just be mindful that acetone is very strong on the surface. So the surface will be eliminated. And that process is what cleans out your clay. So it's pretty much a soft sand. So that's why you have to do it very gentle, and don't pressure on one side of the clay or of your piece too much, because it will create an indent on your whole piece. Or it will create that indent in just one area. So I'm doing this throughout all my pieces just to create a smoother surface, and also just to skip the full sanding process, because sanding in a home, if you don't have a studio, can be very environmental unsafe. You don't want polymer clay particles all over your home. You want to have a controlled environment. Okay. So now I'm still cleaning, still making sure that everything's at hand. And here, there is a very small black particle that I want to eliminate. And I'm going to demonstrate how with the acetone, I'm able to eliminate it completely and also clean out the surface. And as you can see, I have some of the residue of the polymer clay on my fingers instead of dust particles. So that's what you kind of get afterwards of using acetone. Okay, it's clean, it's representable, it's perfect earrings to wear. So now we have my special friend, the Dremel. I love him. He is what cleans out the things I can't clean with acetone. So it's more on the corners to get that chiseled look. And I do this on all my corners just to create that very sharp, smooth edge. So I'm just having a very light sand for any small imperfections and making them very smooth. Also on the surface, if that acetone did not get the surface imperfections, you come back with a small sander and you sand it down and then you redo your acetone. And here I'm showing you guys the cleaning process again with the acetone right after the sanding on the surface, if I did sanding on the surface. Still cleaning out, making sure that all my surfaces are clean. And now I'm changing my Dremel head, and I'm going to be replacing it with a piercer for my polymer clay. So this is what I do to connect my components, which are small holes on where my jump hoops are going to be at. So I'm piercing them on both sides, front and back, just to make sure that it pierced through completely. So as you can see, it's pierced through completely on both sides. Now we pick up our components and we do a fast wash with soap and water just to get all that residue out and to have a clean surface for our next process, which is resin. So this is UV light resin. So it can be exposed to sun if you don't have a UV lamp. It will take much more time for it to seal, so it can possibly take, depending where the sun is, it can possibly take 20 minutes or hours. If you have a UV lamp, it could take 5 minutes to 15 minutes. So here I am taking out the components that will be my posts, my stainless steel posts, and I am setting them in place for the laying of the UV resin. So I'm just checking to see where they're going to be laid out. And I'm prepping for that resin. So I poured some, not a lot, enough to cover at least the little surface so I can keep adding later on. So I'm pouring a little bit. And now I'm going in to spread the resin. Spreading the resin is very important. If you've never worked with resin, wear gloves. Don't be like me. I didn't use gloves for this process. So I'm smearing my resin throughout the surface just to cover the whole back and the post. This is part of the component that is going to be the strong and durable side, and this is what's supposed to hold your post and also your piece. So if you have a rough movement and you're wearing the piece, they won't be as fragile as the initial process. So I keep smearing the resin throughout the whole component, all corners. And I do that with all 4 of my components. Now that we covered all our surface with resin, we have to make sure that our resin doesn't have bubbles. So I use Propionite big propane lighter and I use this very lightly over the surface. Heat does create bubbles to come to the surface and just to pop. So just do it very lightly and be very mindful that it can also burn your clay. If it burns your clay, you won't be able to really use that clay. And then you move on to putting your earrings under the UV lamp. The UV lamp will create that hard resin surface. So you will have to do this from 5 to 15 minutes, like I indicated initially, depending on what volts is your UV lamp. Now we're able to remove our earrings from under our UV lamp, and as you can see, they have that shiny, glossy back to them, and this is what resin does. It creates that professional finish touch to your jewelry. And now we're going to assemble them. These are 22 karat gold jump hoops, and these are what I use to assemble all of my earrings. So the earrings are going to have just one jump hoop that would connect both components. So here I have my pliers, opening up the jump hoop and just pushing them through on both sides. Once I got them through, take my pliers and move them back together to have my finished piece. Here we have our first side of our pair, and we're going to repeat the same process for our second earring. And here you go. We have made our first Emmas together. So thank you for coming along this journey and creating with me.